Hello, my name is Mark Bitzes, and I'm going to talk to you today about sleeping warm while you're winter camping. So, just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I took this class about 8 years ago, and I did that class with my son, who was a scout at the time, and we basically used pretty much our same old summer bags, and we added some things to make it work. But the number one way, and actually to add on to that, I joined the staff about 5 or 6 years ago, and since I joined the staff, we stay out for a couple of nights, and I tend to want to I've added some things as I've gone along. But bottom line is, the number one way to sleep warm is to build your snow shelter. We're going to teach you, Jeff Kelly, I probably already showed you if you've looked at the videos about how to build an A-frame snow cave, any kind of quinzhee, any kind of snow shelter that basically provides that natural snow insulation. Snow is an insulant. It gives you, enables you to trap your own body heat in the cavity that you're sleeping in. And so you will sleep much warmer than if you were to sleep in even in a four-season tent. So bottom line is we push all the students to build a snow shelter because that's part of the course, and it's really the best way to stay warm at night. So if you don't believe me, you can look at these two thermometers. This one on the left is the outside temperature, and that was about 18 degrees Fahrenheit. And the one on the right, just with two of us inside the snow shelter, inside temperature was about 42 degrees after about half an hour of us in there. Pretty amazing how much that snow traps your body heat. There's some other things we do to try to sleep warm. That 42 degrees, pretty much any of us have slept in that kind of a temperature at night in the Puget Sound in the spring or the fall. If you're an avid Boy Scout camper, but you are still sleeping on snow. So we do push, taking your summer bag and or normal bag. And you could add a fleece blanket, you could add yourself an extra clothing layer, maybe sleep with your mid layer on. The other thing you can do is add a bivy bag, and I'll talk about that a little later when I give the examples. But that's not really a necessary thing to do, to go purchase a bivy bag for one night on this winter camp field trip. The other thing is absolutely got to sleep on pad, and I'll show you some examples of pads later. But you are still sleeping on snow. You want to get yourself insulated from that snow. You're sleeping on you're crushing your sleeping bag, so that's not going to provide the warmth. So you've got to get something to give yourself that insulating layer between yourself and the snow. There's some tips though as well. The number one is to really all day long, you want to stay hydrated. You want to drink plenty of water. Eat before bedtime. And the second thing is to exercise right before bedtime to raise your body heat before you go to get into your sleeping bag. We accomplish those two things on the field trip by marching everybody down to the parking lot from the camp, and then we go ahead and we fill you full of nice hot cider, maybe some crackers, some sausage, some cheese. And then we hike everybody back up the hill in their snowshoes. And that action right there, it's probably about a half a mile of a hike. Uphill though, you raise your heart rate, it gets you moving, get the blood pumping to your extremities, and then you just kind of take off your snowshoes and get right into that bag, and you will sleep warm. I always wear a hat to bed, especially since my hair on top has gotten a lot thinner, but bottom line is, your head's going to be exposed. You lose a lot of heat through your head, so you want to make sure you wear some sort of a head covering. A balaclava is a real good idea because that covers your neck as well. Um, I always change out of my wet clothing for sleeping from the day. You've been building an igloo or a snow shelter or an A-frame all day long. Your base layer is going to be wet. You know, the best thing to do is to strip that off, maybe throw it in the bag so it can kind of dry out, but then throw on a fresh pair for sleeping. It'll feel so much better if you do that. Taking that hot cider, that hot water that you use to make hot cider, adding some additional hot water into a water bottle and then putting it in the bottom of your bag is a really good idea. It keeps your, you know, it adds that warmth at the bottom of the bag, but you got to make sure it's sealed, otherwise that's all bad. Sleeping close to another person is obviously, you know, sharing body heat. It really does help. Sleeping on your side, really good because that minimizes your contact with snow, and adding extra clothing under your shoulder and hip to, you know, give you that extra layer of material between yourself and the snow. So I'm going to turn this off real quick and go through some examples. So back in the day, my son and I came out with just our normal REI summer bags. This is a wool blanket that I have. I originally used a fleece blanket that actually is a very lightweight summertime sleeping bag inside of this bag, and that really helps. And then I bought this bivy sack, which really is not intended. I would not recommend buying this particular bivy sack from REI. And the reason is, although it is waterproof, it does add you that extra layer of benefit, you know, of trapping heat. But on the flip side, what happens at night is you trap that moisture as you're sleeping, and it doesn't breathe very well. And so this bag, I would not recommend. It was only $40. I still have it. I wouldn't say I would never use it, especially for a one-night outing, because if you're just on a one-night outing, you don't care that your bag gets a little wet. The idea is for the next night, you don't want to have a wet sleeping bag. So as time has gone on, I've kind of upgraded a bit. And since I have this off, I'm going to talk about what's underneath that bag. So the first thing you have underneath the bag is you have a blue tarp. This is an absolute must. I get a blue tarp and I take it up. It's big enough for my entire snow shelter. It's really nice because then when you get into the snow shelter, you're not sitting on bare snow. And then I take up a blue foam pad. This is kind of, you'll see I have my new bag has a Thermarest air mattress. This is also kind of just an extra layer of protection, just really more about comfort. And then I have, this is furnace insulation. You can get about a roll of 50 feet for $20. This gives you that radiant layer of protection. So it reflects heat back onto your, away from the snow. And then from there, I think I do this presentation because I really do like to sleep warm. So even with that, you know, the fact that you're in a snow shelter, so I'd say this one is a must for every adult who sleeps, does scouting. I use this all year long for camping, backpacking. It's a Thermarest. It also, though, it's made for winter camping. It has that radiant layer in between the air baffles. And so it also provides the radiant, and it also provides that air separation that is so important. So this is an absolute must, I think, if you're going to continue winter camping. And then if you're going to camp for multiple days, I would recommend this bivy sack. It's more expensive than the other one, but it's made of Gore-Tex, so this top layer breathes. And then I have a down bag on the inside. I use this in the Northwest also quite a bit because it does keep me nice and toasty. And then this bag actually is sealed on the bottom. It has a sealant material on the bottom, but it breathes on top. And so this is waterproof. So in case the snow shelter is dripping, it doesn't. Your bag stays nice and dry, but you don't collect that condensation that I was talking about earlier. So I guess that pretty much concludes sleeping warm. I hope you all have a good time out there on the field trip, and we'll see you soon.